They call him Big Balls, and he's lived up to his name. While many mocked the idea of the Doge staffer known as Big Balls for his name, Big Balls, recently in D.C., as the story goes, he intervened to save a woman from a gang, and he was mercilessly beaten, showing that he does, in fact, have big balls. Now, Donald Trump is threatening to federalize, take over Washington, D.C., and I'm for it 100%. I live in the D.C. area, my friends. I know it's funny because people act like we don't live here. We're an hour outside of D.C. That's like a suburb, okay? The people where we live, everybody commutes to D.C. or the D.C. area to work for D.C. Industry and Enterprise, and it is unsafe, and it is disgusting. It is dangerous. And we take these considerations very seriously. We're doing a series of shows in D.C. It is not safe, and everyone knows it, and there is no excuse, none whatsoever, especially for Donald Trump, to allow a federal jurisdiction to be as crime-ridden as D.C. is. When we go in for these shows, we have security. And I'm not going to pretend like it's hell on earth or anything stupid like that. It's just crime-ridden. And then you've got this image, the image of Big Balls being beaten. It is insane. The dude took a brutal gang stomping. Talk about big balls. Here's a story from the New York Times. Trump threatens federal takeover of Washington after a member of Doge is assaulted. A prominent member of the Doge was beaten in an attempted carjacking in Washington this week, prompting President Trump to renew his threat of a federal takeover of the city. The victim was Edward Corstein, a 19-year-old software engineer known by his online sobriquet, Big Balls. According to the police, who said he was surrounded and attacked by 10 young assailants outside his car. In a social media post on Tuesday afternoon, Mr. Trump shared a photograph that appeared to show Mr. Corstein lying in the street, bleeding, battered, and shirtless, writing that the crime in the nation's capital was totally out of control, though the city's crime rates have been falling. So what? Falling crime rates does not mean no crime. If D.C. doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city. And why don't they have that? It is absolutely insane to me that D.C., which is quite literally federal jurisdiction for the purpose of the operation of the federal government, and the federal government allows crime to run rampant in this city. The president argued that young people in the city do not fear consequences if they commit crimes. Tapping into a thorny local issue, youth crime remains a trouble spot for Washington, with young people making up a majority of the arrests for robbery and carjacking. In April, Mayor Muriel E. Bowser announced the creation of a special police unit specifically dedicated to preventing and responding to juvenile crime. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting at age 14, Mr. Trump said in his social media post on Tuesday. The episode marked the latest twist in the saga of Doge and the young Elon Musk acolytes who came to Washington to reshape the federal government after having remained even after Mr. Musk's public falling out with the president. Mr. Corstein, who did not respond to a request for comment, is now working at the Social Security Administration. After stints across the federal government, he played a role in dismantling USAID. I just got to say, two big balls, brother, bravo. You have exemplified what it means to be a man. Apparently, check this out. He was left bloodied when he is said to have been set upon by thugs after trying to protect a young woman. A standing ovation for this young man. There are a lot of men out there. They claim to be men, and they would not do this thing. How many stories have we heard of people standing by just filming as women are beaten and assaulted, as men are beaten and assaulted? And very few strong men exist to step up, intervene, and protect those around them. And Big Balls earned his name. Donald Trump, the U.S. president, called Mr. Corstein an incredible man and threatened to take federal control of the Capitol unless its council tackled violent crime. We got this clip from Fox. I believe they actually show some of this. Let me play a little bit of this video.
In other news, President Trump is threatening a federal takeover of D.C. after police say a former Doge employee was brutally beaten in the nation's capital.
Truly unbelievable. Lucas Thomason joins us live in Washington. Lucas.
Legend. Absolute legend. Let me stress all of this for all you guys out there. A man does not seek to cause problems, does not seek to be violent. but he uses the power he has to protect those around him to make this world a better place. And Big Balls exemplifies this. A young lady in her car, they were trying to carjack her. He intervenes and they stomped him out. Police apparently pulled up, they fled. A couple of them got arrested. That's what it's all about. You know, I understand that when it comes to the feminism debate, there are a lot of young guys that are jaded and angry. But what weak men and weak women do is not our business when it comes to that moment in question. And Big Balls stepped up. When you see that, this is your job as a man. This is what it means to be a man. Now, I've heard some stories. I've heard many stories where men are like, I'm not getting involved. I'll go to prison. No one said it was going to be easy. Nobody said it was going to be easy or that you'd be treated like a king or anything like that. Nah, often you get left bloodied and battered with nothing to show for it. Some instances, you could lose your life. The problem is when men decide to behave like children, to stand back and let these things happen, is when society begins to fall apart. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot of right now. What we need are men of action. What we don't want is wanton violence, thuggery, or anything like that. But we need to make sure a message is sent. So Donald Trump, the next move is on you. Now he says they better tackle crime or else. Or else what? Trump, this young man stood up to defend the people in his community, and you need to do the same right now. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to come down on Trump because he's done a lot. I'm saying don't just stand back and tell the city to take care of it. Be the man of action yourself and take the action needed. This young man sacrificed his well-being not so that you could just send threats to the D.C. City Council, which is never going to solve this because it's overly liberal. We need action. Axios says, can Trump federalize D.C.? Here's what to know. Now, I want to stress this. D.C. is federal jurisdiction, period. Activists all know this. During the Occupy protests, they were warning everybody in D.C., if you get arrested in D.C., you are cooked because D.C. is federal prosecution and they don't lose. Here's what Axios says. President has long lamented what he sees as a horribly run capital and expressed a desire to seize control over a filthy and crime-ridden embarrassment to our nation. He's completely correct. Dude, we've been going down to D.C. for these live events. They've been fantastic, by the way. Sold out show last Saturday. I got sick pretty bad. I was out for a couple of days, lost my voice. You can hear it. Well, the show will be up on Friday, and you can see me going like, I can barely talk. We're back again on Saturday, debating feminism. I'm sure this will come up. This issue will come up. When you're driving through D.C., there are tents on the sidewalk randomly. It is insane to me. You'll be driving down the street, and there's just tents in the middle of the city. I'm not talking about near a construction site. I'm not talking about by the highway. Those exist too. But you're driving through the city. You come to an intersection, and there's just tents. And I'm like, what is going on with this place, man? So Trump needs this. He's got to do something. President called for teens as young as 14 to be prosecuted as adults. Indeed. 2 teens, a 15-year-old boy and girl, were arrested and charged with an unarmed carjacking. Elon Musk, the former face of Doge, publicly exploded and echoed the call. How would Trump federalize D.C.? Now, I don't like that term because it's already federal. To take over D.C., Congress have to overturn the Home Rule Act of 1973, which was signed into law by Nixon, after the district's residents pushed for more control. Before Congress granted D.C. Home Rule, Axios's Kunay Dill previously reported the president appointed the city's mayor and Congress, and unelected commissioners oversaw the district's laws and local affairs. Now, district residents elect their mayor, council members, and advisory neighborhood commissioners per the ACLU of D.C. The local government can pass and enforce local laws and the district's budget, but the federal government can still micromanage money and local laws. Congress holds the final say on the city's laws, meaning D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser has to walk a fine line in an era of GOP control. Yes, but repealing a home rule would be a challenging feat given the hurdle of a filibuster. I am done playing these games. It can be done. It should be done. I am sick of Republicans sitting back and doing nothing. Now, we've got some reporting coming out about this criminal probe against the Obama administration and stuff like this. This is going to take a lot of time. But when I look at things like this, okay, Let me read. Trump, under the Home Rule Act, can temporarily take over district police. Whenever the president of the U.S. determines that special conditions of an emergency nature exist that require him to use the force, he may direct the mayor to provide him, and the mayor shall provide such services. Do it. Do it. And stop this crime. Get rid of these homeless camps. Put an end to this lawlessness. During the protests in 2020, Trump considered taking over MPD, but ultimately did not after pushback from officials. The D.C. National Guard is also under the president's command. Deploy the National Guard. Let's go. And abolishing the home rule is far from the only method Congress has to involve itself in the district. One such way, the Post notes, is through budget riders attached to spending bills. We get it. I want to see action. I want to feel like we are moving in a positive direction. And I will tell you this. Trump's movements on D.C. can set an example for the rest of this country as to how executive control in certain circumstances, like high crime, can make things better. Now, I can already hear the libertarians reeling. I can hear the liberals squealing. I'm going to say this. Never did the founding fathers who enshrined this Constitution and these laws expect our cities to be so run down and rampant with crime. Okay? They did not. They would not have tolerated this. Back then, they'd have blasted you. Bang! They had duels. They had duels back in the day. And you're going to tell me that they tolerate this? If you brought the founding fathers to this era right now and said, should the president invoke the Insurrection Act and say in California in key areas because of the lawlessness and the rioting, they'd be like, unquestionably. What about D.C.? They'd be like, why would you even give D.C. home jurisdiction in the first place? They'd be shocked by all of this. Bro, back in the day, if you dishonored a person, they'd challenge you to a duel, pistols at dawn. I'm not kidding, they had duels. To be fair, typically they'd aim away and shoot to miss, and it was defending your honor. But it was legal. If two men agreed to die by the sword, they could do it. So when you look at the crime we're facing, women being attacked, carjacked, this big balls dude getting beaten, they'd be like, where's his gun? Well, in D.C., you're not allowed to have them. They'd be like, but we passed a Second Amendment saying you can. Yeah. Here's my point. This idea that the president can't do it is wrong. Abraham Lincoln went well above and beyond what the Constitution allows, and he's hailed as a hero for defying the bureaucracy and the red tape to save this union. Now, I'm not saying Trump needs to do anything like that. I'm saying at the bare minimum, he can deploy police and National Guard and cut the crime down in D.C. And I want to let you guys know something. They say violent crime is down. The murder rate is down because of cell phones. Because when someone gets stabbed, they don't die anymore because you call 911 on your cell phone. So we have seen largely technology result in lower crime rates in certain areas, but it's not definitive. It's not definitive. Now, with more and more people staying home, there's less opportunity for crime. But the funny thing is, I'll put it this way. Legalize marijuana, watch the crime rate go down. They play funny games. The question is, are we seeing more attacks on people? And I got to tell you, I don't know if it's up or down. They're going to tell you crime stats, this or otherwise, to push a political agenda. What I'm going to say is I don't care one way or the other. I don't want to see a picture of a bloodied up teenager trying to defend a woman. I want to see law and order. I want to see honor brought back to this country. It can be done properly, and Trump can set an example as to how governors and mayors can handle crime. I'm going to wrap it up there. Stay tuned. We got more coming up for you throughout the day. Smash a like button, share the show, follow me on X and Instagram. We'll see you all in the next segment.